Hello, everyone, wherever you are. Irini Hara, streaming today from Oslo in Norway. We have nice snow falling down from the sky. Everything is white. And I'm coming here with the fourth episode and the first one in the year of 2025, having a special guest. Her name is Morgan Doman. She is a dedicated life coach and advocate who has empowered over 250 mothers of children with special needs to lead more balanced and fulfilling lives. Growing up as a child with special needs herself, Morgan brings a deeply personal understanding of the challenges faced by the families that navigate similar journeys. Through her coaching, Morgan provides tools and strategies to help mothers manage stress, foster resilience, and create joy in their daily lives. She also is a certified Doman Method evaluator, cognitive staff member, and leads the Doman Parent Support Group for Doman International, where she helps families unlock their children's potential using the renowned Doman Method. Morgan's unique blend of professional expertise and lived experience makes her a compassionate and effective guide for parents seeking hope and transformation. And I'm very pleased to welcome you and very grateful for you agreeing to participate to this podcast content with an interview. Welcome, Morgan. Would
Thank you for
you
having me.
would you like to add anything else beyond what I already shared about you?
I not that much. I think you did a really nice job there. I think for me, the biggest thing is really helping parents see that their child has so much potential and helping them see that their child is so smart and so capable. We just have to unlock, um, the ability to learn within them. So.
Yes, I agree with you. And I mentioned that you had your own experience as a child with special needs before you grew into adulthood. Would you like to share a little bit about this? I think it might
Of
be relevant.
course. Of course. So I when I was a baby, I was injured through some for medical reasons, and it became clear to my parents that there was something wrong. I couldn't learn, I couldn't read. My memory was terrible. And I just had a huge block when it came to reading. I would have been diagnosed probably with a severe learning disability. My parents never had me formally diagnosed by the medical community. Um, but that's probably what I would have been diagnosed with. So my parents are, my father is the son of Glenn Doman, and he is a renowned expert in the world of brain injury, and he has since passed away. But my father and my mother, took on that mantle. And so when I was young, I had really the best of the best from a very young age. And when they realized that I did have this issue, this brain injury, which was causing a learning disability, they got to work doing the Doman method with me. And about 2 years later, I was totally fine. You wouldn't have known I had an issue. My biggest issue was not being able to read, and now I love to read. And after that time, when I graduated from the Doman program, I was fine in school. I did fine from then on. So I have a really good understanding of being a child because I was older when I was like it was like, all right, we need to do something here because it was the learning disabilities. You're not seeing that super young. Um, so it was like I realized something's wrong. Like my friends are reading and I'm not. So I have that experience. But I also have the experience of seeing my parents concerned, my mom worried, my mom doing everything she could to get me better. And also the joy that comes along with that too, doing the Doman program when it's done well and in the spirit that it was meant to be done is always fun and exciting. And so I actually have very fond memories of doing it with my mother, and sometimes my dad. So it, it's an experience that I'm really glad I've had now that I can look back, because it made me very resilient and strong and all of that. But it also positioned me perfectly to be able to coach mothers and to know what they're going through from both sides.
From both
Yeah.
sides. Yes, that is wonderful. And you brought in this Doman method, and I'm very curious to learn more because I'm not very much aware. I just Google on the website, and I participated in the webinar 2 weeks ago, I think was,
Mm.
or last week. I don't remember exactly, but recently there was a webinar for families that are living in Norway and have special kids, special needs kids. So if you would like to make a kind of overview of what Doman method means and why you consider it's useful for these cases.
Yeah. So the Doman method is really based in the idea of neuroplasticity. My grandfather used to say the brain grows by use. Now the world calls that neuroplasticity. He kind of discovered this idea before it became like a real medical word or term. And so the idea is if you give opportunity to children to allow them to grow their brain, then you will see results. Now, we don't look at children as autistic or as down as cerebral palsy, or even kids with genetic, syndromes like Down syndrome. Of course, they have a genetic disorder, but besides that, they also have a brain injury. There's an injury in the brain. And a lot of people say, well, wait. How do you know that? Well, because the brain is giving us symptoms of an injury, right? Just like if you were to go out and get into a car crash, right? You're gonna and you hit your head, you're gonna have symptoms of brain injury. And so the good news is you can do something about brain injury. The problem with autism and cerebral palsy and all those syndromes is you can't do anything about them. The whole point of calling them a syndrome is that you're not able to really fix them or, heal them. And so we don't look at it like that at all. We look at every child having a brain injury. There's an injury somewhere in their brain, and we have programs that create neuroplasticity, okay, through oxygen enrichment. That's probably what we're most famous for. Nutrition, right? The kids on the Doman method are on like the most amazing nutrition plans ever. um, Physical activity, mobility, right? That we help a child to heal the brain through mobility, and then cognitive development, which includes the sensory side, because for most kids with brain injury, there's an injury on the sensory side, right? This is why a lot of kids with autism stim. This is why they have huge hearing issues. Like so many children, with autism are so misunderstood. People think, oh, they're badly behaved or they're not paying attention to me. And the truth is, well, you would be badly behaved or you would be not paying attention to anyone if you were hearing a million sounds at the same time, right? And there's this chaos in your life all the time, constant. So, and we look at the sensory, and then we also look at the reading, the math, the ability to learn academically. And of course, most kids fall somewhere there. Some kids need more nutrition, more mobility, or whatever.
Yes.
We really believe in individualized, holistic plans. No child is the same. It's very rare you'll see two programs exactly the same, because every child has, obviously, their age is different, their injury could be different, their life circumstances are different, right? Like a family that has 10 children may not be able to do as much as a family with an only child, for example. So we have to consider all of that. We like to consider the family holistically. So the Doman method is rooted in neuroplasticity. Family is the answer. We always believe that. Like I even yesterday I had a mother go, I think it's this, but the doctors don't agree with me, so I don't know. And I was like, it's that. If you think it's that, it's that. Like to me, that's all I need to hear.
Yeah.
Because moms are like pretty much always right, or they're like kind of on the money where, um, and so yeah,
We have
that's what
a
it's.
sixth sense to say like that.
Yes,
That
yes,
helps.
exactly. Yeah, yeah. And
I
there's the sick, go
yes.
ahead.
No, no, please continue. Sorry.
And so we kind of, just to kind of summarize, we have like the six components of the Doman program, which is nutrition and health, sensory, cognitive, mobility. and social programs.
Mm.
And it's so helpful to look at it like that because it's so holistic in that way.
I like this concept of holistic because I'm also into holistic therapies, and I'm a practitioner. I study different methods. And actually, I believe in these approaches. And myself, when I started to notice my son had some issues, I started to look for a holistic approach and combine and test different things. And I'm looking forward to know more about the Doman method too. Um, from your experience, because you already work with, you said more than 150 mothers, I also work a lot with women, so I know the women's world a lot from a psychotherapeutical, embodied way, to call it like that. What would be the most prominent challenges that you notice that mothers with kids with special needs face in this path that, of course, it's a path towards improving something, but many times we struggle, especially when we don't have enough information or support around us.
Yes. I would say number one is isolation. It can get very isolating. And if you don't have someone else in your life who like understands what's going on, no one really understands. And I think that for a lot of mothers, even sometimes the mother to the father, right? Even a father having a child with special needs, it's not the same. And that can also even feel isolating. Not always, but sometimes. So um, isolation. Number two would be not following your intuition as a mother. I think a lot of moms struggle to look at themselves as the authority in their child and not like give responsibility over to experts. If you have a firm belief that your child can be well, then they can. It doesn't matter what an expert says. So I think it's really important that mothers follow their intuition, because I have to say in almost all my work as a life coach, I very like the times mothers get themselves into trouble is when they're not listening to themselves. Or like something bad happens, almost always. And then the third is really, and this is not really the mothers, it's the lies that are out there. There's so many lies, just straight up lies that you're like, that's not true. Anyone who has worked with someone with special needs knows that's not true. And so this is why intuition is so important, is because you need to be able to tap into it to know what's a lie and what's not. And so I would say those to me are the biggest three challenges for most mothers. Of course, there's also the economics as well for many families. So that can also be an issue, because the modalities, I think most parents in this world would agree with me, the modalities that work the best are not covered by insurance, at least in the US. Whether that's even the Doman method or other things, like the things that work the best tend to not be covered very well. That the exception, Norway is a big exception, and there are other places that are exceptions to that. But that also, of course, can be a huge impact for a lot of families.
Yes, I can understand this because I'm also a single provider, and
Right, right.
money are not for everything. You have to be selective sometimes.
Mhm.
So we spoke about challenges, but what about the breakthroughs or the things that you notice, like a big improvement or a big gain that these women, these mothers had through the coaching program or the method
Mm.
that you promote?
That's a great question. The mothers that do the Doman method and really succeed, whether that means their child is fully graduated, that's when full graduation from the Doman method, it means the child no longer shows any symptoms of injury. So if they walked in, you would never know, okay, that they had an issue. Um, and so those mothers, but even the mothers who get their child to a place of having really great quality of life. Maybe they're not 100%, but they can live their life and they're doing well. There's a confidence that really can't be taken away. There is a sovereignty or even a swagger that is really profound. because they've gone through this really intense journey and come out the other side. However, sometimes that can be accompanied by sadness and depression, because sometimes the best years of your life are when you're doing the program with your child, because there's nothing in the world more gratifying than feeling like I'm saving someone's life, right? That feeling of I am doing something bigger than myself actually fills us with, like, humans are meant to do work like that. And I think anyone who does work like that knows what I mean. Like, if you took my job away from me right now, I wouldn't know what to do with myself. I'd be so depressed, so sad, you know. I'd be like, I'd probably go find something else to do in this arena anyway. But I think, the point I'm trying to make here is when you're on this journey, it can be the most intense and the most amazing. And so, yes, it gives you a confidence, but it can also be sad when it ends. And of course, it's the dream that it ends, because that means your child is ready to go live their life. But yeah, they're usually very, very confident, a little bit scary, maybe, to the outside world, because you can't mess with them. Yeah.
Yes.
And I think I'm starting to see which makes me happy.
Yeah.
Women before the end of the journey having that confidence. I'm starting to see young mothers who are like, no, you can't tell me what to do. I know what's right for my baby. And that's how it should be.
Yes. This is true. We need to build up confidence and also resilience because it can
Yes.
be a tough journey. Actually, my goal, I already set this for myself, is that I want my son to be recovered at least 80% from those parts that I feel are still difficult for him and uh, do not allow him to live a normal life until he'll be 20. So I still
Mm-hmm.
have, he's almost 12, 8 years of some work.
And
I consider I
that's
did
so,
some, but maybe I could have done more. But I also was living in an illusion that things can also progress by themselves. But now I understand that maybe he might need some extra support. But it's like it's a journey. We never
mhm.
know when we start where it goes into this motherhood. We become mothers, and but we have to grow as mothers. We don't learn the skills from the birth, right?
And I think you're really smart too to give yourself time. A lot of parents, will go, okay, we need to see him well in 6 months. And it's like, well, that's not how the brain works. The brain is a very slow to heal organ. It's probably the most complicated. No, it is the most complicated, organ that we have. And so you need time. And I find that parents who give themselves that grace and the time really end up actually being more successful because they're not racing the clock too, right? Like you already have enough issues. You don't need to be in a war with time either.
Yes, because this
Yeah.
can add a lot of stress, and then you get into paralysis crisis, and you don't know what else
Yes.
to do. So we have to be really
Mm-hmm.
mindful also about our own reality and energy.
Mm-hmm.
Among the stories of this journey with the Doman Method, do you retain or remember anything that is really valuable to share that was really a big wow? Um, I don't know, it can be about a family or about a kid that really developed very well.
Yeah.
Do you have any story like that? I think would be
I I have many stories, but I will tell you about a little girl who's, well, she's not really little anymore. She's she's still on the program. She's still working at it. She's not 100% yet. But the world would see her and go, oh, autism, not smart, doesn't know what she's doing. If you had just met her like this, that's what you would think. But I had the pleasure of getting to spend a week with her actually in Norway. And it was so amazing to get to know her because, first of all, she's fluent in 3 languages, reading and writing. And more importantly, she's an amazing poet. I mean, I read her poetry and I cried. It was
um,
so profound. And I think about her, and I think I'm not going to say her name just to for her privacy,
privacy.
but
Yes.
I think about her because I think the world wouldn't have her poetry if her mother wasn't doing this program with her. The world wouldn't have that beautiful piece of art. And it's so interesting because so many of our children on the Doman program, but so many children in general with special needs tend to be amazing artists because they see the world in this profound way. And sometimes that's paintings, it can be any form of artistry, right? But I just think the world would have lost her poems if her mother wasn't doing this work with her. And that would have been a tragedy. And so I think more about moments like that. Of course, I know many people. Like I know a woman now. She's like 30 years old, 31 maybe, and she just graduated from college, and she's going into nutrition, and she had developmental delays, and some pretty severe epilepsy, and now she's living her life, um, in her way, and it's like she doesn't need to live at home. She can go do whatever she wants. And it's really inspiring to see different, um, stories like that. But I will say a lot of Doman kids kind of disappear because they're well. And
Yeah.
so they're done and they have a life to live, you know. Yeah, I knew a guy who actually had cerebral palsy, and he now has two children, and he's like living his life happy. And you'd never know. He's like a bodybuilder, so like you'd never know he ever had mobility issues. But yeah, I mean, you can go to our website, domaninternational.org, that's ORG, and see all the success stories there. But there's like too many to name, but those are some of the few that came to mind.
Very interesting. It's fun that your first case you mentioned was about an artist, a poet, because my son too has a lot of artistic
Mm,
qualities. He loves to draw, and he has a very special uh, and very much into detail when he draws, and he draws from memory. He doesn't need to
mm,
copy things. A very special taste for colors, and he also likes to sing a lot and to
mm,
listen to music. So who knows? Maybe later he will also be able to write poetry. I,
mhm, mhm.
I don't know. He will figure this out. But it is true. If these kids would not have this possibility to improve in their abilities, the world would lose a lot of these beautiful contributions. And now that we spoke about this, the other question that came to me is to really see a breakthrough or a real improvement for these kids, because I suppose most of them they start as kids the program when they are diagnosed or they manifest something that is not considered is considered disability or something that, let's say, doesn't work in normal functions.
Mhm.
More or less as an average, how many years of the program you saw that is needed from this
It's
experience you acquired?
it's a question that's very hard to answer because every child is different. And even it's interesting because sometimes you can have two kids. One is severely brain injured, okay, not able to move, not able to do anything. And then you have a kid who seems kind of high level, maybe with some learning disabilities. And it can be very hard to help both of them. People may think, one may be on the program longer than the other, but sometimes we really have no way of knowing. Um, Although we like to say you want to see significant changes within the first 2 years.
The
Okay.
first two.
That's really our gauge. We really want to see that. Usually, most kids see significant, changes in the first 2 years. And then from there, we can start to see where a child's going to maybe take longer to improve or take less time, because kids can surprise you. Sometimes it's interesting. I know a mom who has twin boys. Okay. Both of them had, when they started the program, I think 5 years ago, they both had severe mobility issues. Mobility was their biggest problem in life. They couldn't move. And so he spent 5 years getting them moving, and they're both walking and running now, which is literally a miracle. But now she's realizing, oh, mobility was their biggest issue, but it's not anymore. Now we need to work on speech and cognitive abilities. So that can also be the case. Parents think this is the biggest problem in life. They fix it, and then they realize, okay, we have other things we have to do as well. So it's, I always have to be honest. I am always very um, suspicious of anyone who answers this question because every child is different. And so but I do want to say though, you should always see significant improvement within 2 years.
Within
Yeah.
2 years.
Yeah.
And how do you, if you are interested to start a program like that as a parent, how do you get into it? Are there several steps you have to follow, or you just book an appointment with someone from your company?
Yeah, so it's actually quite simple. You can book a free discovery call with us. Our rep is Colleen Hudson. You met her on the seminar last week, and if anybody is interested, I'm happy to send them her links. You can book a call. But what we usually recommend is you book a call with her. She'll go into detail about how it can help your child, make sure it's right for your child, because we do sometimes have that where we go, your child, we need to make sure your child actually has a brain injury. And then from there, we'll book your child their first appointment. And of course, every family is different, depends on where you are in the world, what's possible for you and your family. And then between that initial call and your appointment, we give you a lot of material, videos, lectures that you can go through to learn more about us, more about the Doman method, and more about your child too, like why they do what they do. I know for many parents, when they finally realize why their child is doing something, it's a lot easier to deal with it. If, for example, your child stims a lot,
Mm,
or your child is super hyperactive, right? When you understand the why behind that stuff, it makes life a lot easier. Um, so yeah, that's kind of the progression. And then from there, you're given a staff coach and you have a whole team of Doman Method staff behind you the whole time you're with us.
I see. You mentioned that this is a good method to actually be done at home by the family, or let's say if the mother is more engaged in this in case she doesn't work, maybe she can dedicate more time to this. And as an average in terms of time consumption, because it's also about energy and having a household and family, or maybe even other kids, it takes time and energy. How much a mother or a parent that wants to go to the program for the child and with the child should invest in this,
You
like
mean
per
time
week,
wise?
time wise? Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
because this I think it's quite relevant as an information.
Absolutely. The answer is actually very much based on the family. Okay. And the child's age, because a little baby like can't do as much as like a 10-year-old, so actually the age of the child has a lot to do with how much program they're given by us. Also the child's physiology, so if the child is very ill, we actually start there, right? If a child is physically not capable or healthy enough to do much, we start with nutrition first, and overall health first. So those two things factor in. The other third thing is we work with you. Okay. So if we know a mother is a single mom, for example, our program is probably going to be modified for that. It doesn't mean you won't get the same results, by the way, but it will be modified. Depending on what that single mother tells us. Another example is, if we have a family that goes, look, we have 5 kids, we can only do 2 hours a day, we'll make a program for 2 hours a day, because our feeling is it's better to do 30 minutes an hour every day than none. All
Exactly.
right, so it's really up to the family. And then we have some families that come, they have helpers, they have a lot of help, they go, give us everything, and we go, okay, we can do that too. So it really depends on the family. This is why it's a collaboration. And the most successful mothers always tell us, look, I'm only doing 2 hours. So, give me 2 hours. And then because then we can also prioritize. That's the other thing to all of this is you have to look at a child and prioritize what do they need first.
Exactly.
And so, we do
Yes.
that based on what the family tells us.
Well, I would be the situation of a single parent, because I'm a single
Mhm.
parent, single provider, working full time, and on the side, I'm also having some other activities. So my time is really limited. But of course, for the sake of the child, if I see a real benefit, I'm eager to invest my time also in this. Yes, I think we covered most of the mm, topics that I had in mind to speak to you. Not sure if you want to add anything else about the method or about the approach itself.
I think for me, I would just say, to all the mothers and the fathers listening, you are not alone. You are not alone. You are not alone. Contact us. Let's talk. Let it I want you to know what it feels like to have a whole group of people in your corner cheering for you, helping you get your child better, and not just, placating you or telling you what you want to hear, or even worse, telling you nothing. I know it's so frustrating to deal with professionals. As a professional, I know how frustrating it can be. I've heard literally the worst things about what parents. I really don't think there's any other group more abused by professionals than parents of kids with special needs. um
True.
they you are told some of the most horrific things. Don't believe any of them. Come to us and we'll talk it through, because every child is different and unique, and you deserve to have that for you and your child. But most importantly, the brain grows by use. And so, what does that tell us? The brain can heal itself. It just needs the proper environment, the proper opportunity to do that. So, yeah,
Yes,
I
this
look
is
forward to
valid
meeting
for the whole
everyone.
body. The whole body
Yes.
herself is what I always tell to also people I work with, because they
Mm-hmm.
expect me to heal them. And then I say, you heal yourself. I'm just here to guide you into a process that you can follow up and then see where you get. We don't heal any other person only ourselves. But of course, for these kids, we need to support them so they can
Yes,
learn also by themselves.
absolutely.
Very interesting conversation. I'm very happy that I had this opportunity, and grateful to you that you welcomed the invitation and spoke about the Doman Method. Again, I'm going to share resources that Morgan sent about the Doman Method and links, and then you can search for yourself on the website of the organization, but also the books or whatever other type of materials she made available. They will all be in the description of the episode. One is on YouTube. And I also wish to remind you to subscribe. You will help me by subscribing to the channel to have to be notified about future contents and future episodes of the podcast, but also to increase visibility so I can share uh, all this information and much more content in the future. Thank you again, Morgan, for being here, and thank you for watching, and see you for the next episode. Bye
Thank
bye.
you so much. Bye.